The FNRad Snowboard podcast is presented by Vans. Before I start the show this week, listener Brian Michaels reached out asking me to shout out Dave Henkel, who passed away February 13th in an avalanche at Brandywine, a backcountry zone near Whistler. Brian said Dave, quote, kept under the radar while doing some of the raddest things. Super humble, super awesome. My daughter called him Super Dave, end quote. It's a loss that has sent a shock wave of sorrow through the snowboard community here in BC. Dave Henkel's roommate and close friend Justin Lamar sent me this recording to play on the show, which I'm going to follow with a moment of silence.
Hello, FNRad podcast listeners. Justin Lamar here. A lot of my friends will for sure say Dave Henkel, who we lost this past weekend in a tragic accident, was an amazing human being, massive, big, huge heart, and loved adventuring and loved his friends. But I'm going to tell a story because that's what friends do. They make fun of their friends, and I'd really like to make fun of Dave when I can. So earlier this year, Dave, his dog Shiloh, Christine Felecki, and myself went to go ski a couloir, and we'd gone pretty far from the trucks, and Dave looks into his pack and goes, "Oh man, I forgot my lunch in the truck." I said, "Dave, no problem. I got you covered. I got plenty of snacks." Little while later, we get the dreaded glopping on the bottom of our skins where the snow sticks to the bottom of your skins. I had some skin wax. I said, "Hey guys, I got some skin wax. We'll take care of this. Here's the wax," or "let me get the wax." And as I was throwing the wax to Dave, I said, "Hey Dave, do you want some snacks?" Dave didn't catch the wax. He dropped it into the snow. I had my back turned. He reached into the snow, grabbed this little purple blob, and threw it in his mouth and promptly started chewing on it. The next thing I hear, "What am I chewing on, cardboard?" I turned around and looked at him to see his face kind of skewed a bit sideways as he was chewing into this. I said, "Dave, what are you chewing on?" He goes, "I don't know, that shot block you just gave me. It's disgusting. It's terrible." I said, "Dave, that was the skin wax." Both Christine and I obviously fell over laughing our asses off. Dave promptly spitting out all the wax and then looked back up at me and said, "Can I have some proper snacks now, please?" So when you're in the backcountry and you're hungry, take care of your wording because snacks and wax, they rhyme and only one tastes good. We later on went on to ride that couloir with his dog, and there was a dog rappel involved. It was a pretty awesome day, just like all days with my good friend Dave Henkel. Hope you guys enjoyed the story. Peace out. Much love out there. Love you, Dave. Gonna miss you forever.
Season 6 of FNRad is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, who welcomed the legendary Devin Walsh to the team this week, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Anon Optics, Ocean Rose Organics, and Finest Quality Crow's Nest Barbershops, Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC, and Stance Socks. Tribute Board Shop is a must-visit destination when you make the snowboarder's pilgrimage to Nelson, BC. Tribute offers a curated collection of the best snowboarding and splitboarding equipment, plus boots and outerwear to help you enjoy your mountain experience, whether you're a seasoned veteran, a first-year snowboarder, or anything in between. When you're in Nelson, drop by for high fives and good times, or shop online at tributeboardshop.ca. Support also comes from Grouse Mountain, Volcom Outerwear, and Mount Seymour. Special thanks to Chris Savage, who had the Kearns Hit groomed so nice for us this morning. Thanks again, Chris. Don Szabo was a pro snowboarder in the 90s who was prominently featured in snowboard magazines and movies. Some of the first images burned into my adolescent snowboarder brain were of Don backflipping in Nectar ads or doing skits in the Creatures of Habit movies. As a founding member of the Lamar snowboarding team, Don Szabo paved the way for professional freestyle snowboarders around the world. It was a great honor to talk to an OG snowboarding legend, Don Szabo. I'm psyched that you've heard the show a little bit. That's pretty cool, man.
Oh, totally. Like I said, I tweaked out on it after we talked for a little bit when, I told you some stuff about Burt Lamar about 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I called you before I did his episode. That's right. Because I was like, are you the first pro rider for Lamar?
Probably for Lamar, yeah. Like I said, I used to skateboard with Burt Lamar, and I saw him up on the mountain, after our skateboard days, up on the mountain on skis. I think I might have mentioned this to you before.
Rad.
And I said, "What are you doing with skis? We ride sideways. We're, skaters." So I got him into snowboarding, and he did well with it when we went to the 1987 Worlds in Breckenridge. And I was kind of jealous because next thing you know, Tom Sims was there, and Tom Sims re-picked him back up, as a snowboard athlete now. So all of a sudden he's on the full World Cup tour, and I'm just kind of a local pro and scratching my head because, he killed it in the half pipe right off the bat in his trip.
Oh, that's such a rad story. Was he the one who would have told me that you were the guy that showed up at the skate park with the hockey helmet? Or would that have been someone else, maybe Rankwood or somebody?
No, that actually was Bert. And it's funny because, we rode at good levels after that. But, when I initially showed up to Skatercross, and my dad, we don't have a lot of money and just made do with, hey, just wear this thing. So I'm wearing like a football helmet and show up to the skate park and, just full ghetto gear. But
oh yeah, I'm thinking it's a hockey helmet because I'm from Canada, but yeah, it's a full on, and there's a picture of you in it. I've seen it. You're not a pro skater yet, but you eventually become a pro skater well before you're a pro snowboarder. Is that timeline right?
Kinda. It was funny because once again, I'm under my parents' roof. So even though I skated, with, Bert and many friends of mine went the skateboard contest route. And even though, not daily, but I skated with Christian Asoy and Hawk and Caballero and Ray Bones, and used to skate Lance Mountain's ramp all the time and rode at all these guys' level, but I was just having fun. That's where I still am in life. I don't care about, contest results. It's been just more about having fun. So I rode at these guys' level. I really wasn't a pro, and it really wasn't until I was about 17 years old. And my dad said, "Hey, you're going to have to get a job at some point, right?" And I said, "Well, no, I'll just go be a pro skater."
Right.
So I then entered a skate contest, Life's a Beach Hell Week skate contest. And all these guys that normally do the contest, I show up out of the blue and who's this guy? And I won the whole amateur division. So they said, "You should just ride pro." So I rode the pro division and beat, whatever, Gator and I think Danny Way and, podiumed.
Nice.
So like I said, and once again, I had local sponsorship. I rode for, I think it was Losi at the time. And before that, Turning Point and Tracker Trucks, and sponsored by, smaller companies. But after this contest at Life's the Beach picks me up, and Airwalk and JT, and I was going to go the pro skateboard, do the contests. And then they heard that I snowboarded well.
Rad.
And bottom, it was kind of a collective idea also between Sonny Miller, that first started to be my local photographer I would hang out with, but said, "Hey, well, you'll just be a pro snowboarder." And I was into it because I dug snowboarding. So I said, "We already have pro skaters. We'll just pay you to be a pro snowboarder." So it turned into that.
So BBC, the Bad Boys Club, right? That's the
Life's the Beach
Life's the Beach.
Bad Boy, same company.
So is Mouse involved with this at that time? Did you get to meet Mouse at that time?
Oh yeah, that was my team manager. In fact, I just messaged back and forth with him recently, asking him about photo credits. Because, oh, by the way, Adam from Vintage Snowboard Ads said to say hi.
Oh, rad! Yeah.
He just reached out to me within the last couple of weeks, and so I was actually reaching out to Mouse, saying, "Hey, did you take this picture of me and action shots, or in this cooler where it's more of a lifestyle shot?"
Yeah.
next to this chick laying on the beach. I did a bunch of lifestyle stuff way back. That was kind of before lifestyle or skit type stuff. I think. But anyway, Mouse did confirm that he shot that shot. He also shot this, it was a Life's a Beach ad, a sequence shot of a backflip. So
I had that on my wall when I was a kid. Backflip was my move. Like I was into that. So like those early days of Transworld, I guess because Nectar was taking out ads, BBC was taking out ads. There was a lot of Don Szabo.
Yep. We were just having a lot of fun. It was a good time.
So how did your parents feel about that? Did your dad still try and get you to get a job, or you were literally getting paid by Life's a Beach?
Yeah, pretty quickly. I was, getting paid, and a lot better than I would as, kid out of high school. So they were pretty flexible and let me roll with it. And yeah, like I say, for a dozen years, made a decent living and definitely went up into some of the decent years. And
yeah, the photos that you were sending me, I'm looking through them going like, I know a lot of these. The Airwalk ad you wrote for Airwalk when Airwalk was like the biggest boot company in the world for sure. All the pro model boards you had. So it's like 10 years of pro models, maybe more. 4 on Nectar. Is that right?
Correct. I had 4 on Nectar, 4 with Lamar, and 2 of my own board company that, it was going to be funded by the Japanese, which I had a good connection there. And I went there 6 or 7 years in the 90s.
Yep.
But right when the Japanese yen tanked is when I came out, and my Japanese distributor said, "Oh, sorry, Szabo-san, we can't fund your company."
Oh man, so that's got to be a tough call to like go out on your own. Well, the whole thing with the Lamar thing was that I've heard from Mike Rankwit, right? Like Rankwit wanted his name on the board bigger than Lamar, and Burt was smart. He wanted his name on the board bigger than the riders, but you guys were larger than life there for those 4 years on Lamar. That team had all the heat behind it. You know what I mean? Like there was, so let's go all the way back. What board would you have started out on, and where in the world would you have been snowboarding at the time?
Well, when I was skateboarding, and I had my local skateboard shop sponsor was Green Sector. And they introduced me to a snowboard and said, hey, this is kind of like skateboarding on snow. And sure enough, when they took me, it was just like skating on snow, because that was what I was into, was skating. And next thing you know, I'm boning out airs and, big old methods and flying. And it just was a natural thing, and flips and, whatever single spins at the time on a sim swallowtail.
Yeah. Was
just comfortable as it can be. So loved it. So I was really into that along with the skateboarding thing. And then you just heard the story, how that kind of clicked over and works for me.
So how does Nectar get into the picture, and how far into it? Is it like a year or two in? Sounds like you're on probably one of those Sims 1500 FEs or a 1600 FE Swallowtail, which is a pretty good board for that era, right? Like those things ripped.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things I believe worked better than the Burtons.
Oh yeah.
Because Burton having concave way back then wasn't functional on any kind of icy conditions. So yeah, Sims, Swallowtail worked well. And then, when I did the whole, Life to Beach skate contest, and I hooked up, Jamie Mouse, you were speaking of, was my team manager. And then taking photos, hooked up with Sonny Miller as well. And then that transitioned into Sonny Miller taking a lot of my early snowboard photos. We'd cruise around together, but he also is the one that hooked me up with Nectar, which was another San Diego company.
Sick.
Because Life's a Beach, Airwalk, JT, and Nectar were all down there after that Life's a Beach Hell Week contest event. And that was my home sponsors. And like I say, it turned into Nectar because they were all right there, all cool people. And we were all just going with the flow and having fun.
I don't know that I've ever
Running-
seen a Nectar board in real life. Like I remember it had like a bat tail. Is that right? It had a bat tail kind of like, and it had, like they look like pretty functional shapes for that era. Where were they made? Do you remember?
Yeah, they were made at Taylor Dykema, which was also in San Diego, and they
Sick.
made like Vision snowboards at the time.
Yep.
And before, well, the early Nectars, I don't know where they made these aluminum honeycomb square tail
Whoa.
ironing boards, but they had those made somewhere else. And then I don't know, the tail shape that you're meaning is like my first pro model, but I used to have a notch in the tail. And that
Yeah.
was from my skateboard days. I would actually cut a notch in the tail so I could do, tail taps or frontside tail taps or 360 tail taps, and it would lock into the coping.
Sick.
And so I brought that design over into my snowboard. I had my own little twist
So
to
you
it.
actually got to design your board. It wasn't like one of these things where they're making a board and they just throw a graphic on with your name. That's so incredible and awesome.
Yeah. In fact, and then when it got to the Lamar days, which, like I say, I was tripping on Bert going, why would you ride snowboards for a few years and then want to go sit behind a desk?
Right.
I mean, we could travel all around the world. You're an idiot. But obviously, he's business minded and
Totally.
it works out. It's all good. But point being, though, yeah, I got to design all of my snowboard models, and then I actually would help out with, I don't know if I helped, Rankwitz or Jimmy Scott's. I remember helping with other designs because I kind of had half a clue on lifts and cambers and widths and side cuts and stuff like that. So
That's so sick.
Yeah,
so you
getting
enjoyed,
involved with that.
enjoyed like designing those boards. So I remember, and I've talked about it with a couple of people, like that first year that Lamar came out, I went to Wendell's that year, and Fred Yoder Gilligan was riding one, and so was
Yep.
Brian Harper, but they were these black boards that just said Lamar on the bottom. They got a lot of hype on those ones, but by all accounts, those boards kind of just fell apart. But did you ride as far back as those, or was the first Lamar board you rode the suit card, like the King board?
Oh no, I rode those since day one. Those first little squiggle line Lamar that you can read both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I rode since day one on those things.
So did he come to you and say, like, I'm going to do this, I'm doing my own company? Because he wasn't on Sims very long, right? Like he cashed a couple of checks. He was mad at Tom for being, according to Ken Ock, he was mad at Tom for fucking him over when he was a kid on Sims. Like who messes over a kid, right? Like that's so bad. So Bert was like, hey, guess what? I'm going to sign a contract with Sims. Then I'm going to take the money and make my own brand, which, yeah, good, man. Is that kind of what happened?
Business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also Look was in the mix somewhere there with him too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously, he came to myself and Rankwit and other people that he had, crossed paths when we were snow sliding. And once again, he's good business minded. So
yeah,
scooped up some good riders and knew how to throw some promotion in the mix. And I know you were mentioning, him wanting his name bigger and maybe having a back and forth with Rankwit, but he did know how to kind of let us promote our styles and graphics and other things in other ways. Like I say, a little more lifestyle type stuff when it was really cut and dry action shots only. We did some pretty funny stuff. Basketball player, I bald headed and slam dunking, and
I forgot about that one. See, now you're jogging my memory in a way that a lot of times we talk about the Joyride team as ushering in the scape style, but really the very first was Lamar. You guys were all skaters.
Yeah.
Like Bert was a skater, you're a skater. Jimmy was a roller skater, but he was California anyways. And Rankwit was a fucking crazy good skater. And Johnson's a skater. So did you guys get together as a team, like the four of you, for like promotion stuff, photo shoots, like team trips, that kind of stuff right off the bat?
I don't remember tons of full like team meetups. I mean, even some of the ads, and once again, we're talking about a lot of years ago, but
yeah, dude.
They would, different people would get shots from different areas. And then
Yeah.
some of the collage ads with all of us were from multiple different areas. of
All
riding.
over the place. Right.
So we didn't have, I don't think, you probably can't really place it either, where you got all of us just lined up. Like we'd meet up and cross paths. And I do remember, like going to Japan or different team trips, kind of hanging tighter and whatnot. But definitely a lot of people had their own photographers and own places and their own images and style that they would get on camera and get on paper eventually.
Dude, that's so unbelievably sick that you were on that incredible team. I'm trying to think of like what boards you were riding during those Crusty Demon days, like the Szabo thing. Where did that come from, and when in your career is that? Well,
Krusty was actually, John Freeman made all the Creatures of Habit series movies that we did for snowboarding.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry, Creatures. I get that mixed up because it eventually became Krusty's, right?
Yeah. So after that, it's when Dana Nicholson actually went to Freeman. Dana was kind of Damien's sidekick. They were buddies that would, they're both pros. Damien had mad skills and Dana was just mad. But all good. Anyway, Dana though went to Freeman and said, "Hey, we should make freestyle motocross movies how you make the snowboard Creatures of Habit movies." So they went and did that, and that's when the Crusty Demons of Dirt thing blew up. So after that happened, they dropped the whole snowboard gig and ran with Crusty Demons of Dirt for the next 15 years.
Were you on Blackflies at that time? Were you a part of that whole scene?
Oh yeah. No, I rode for Blackflies since before day one. It was actually Dan Flecky and Jack A that were the owners, and Flecky owned a screen printing company. So I remember, and he also owned part of Burning Snow, which was my clothing sponsor at the time.
I remember the ads.
Hey,
yeah.
Yeah. And he said, "Hey, here's some stickers. We're going to come out with a sunglass company called Blackfly. Start just plastering them and guerrilla market them everywhere." So that's what we did. And like I said, since before day one.
Wow.
27 years or so now. I'm still getting free shade. Whatever. Still my boys.
Dude, that is so sick. You're such an OG in snowboarding. Really, I have to tell you, I'm very impressed that you designed those Nectar boards, because when you would look at the buyer's guides back in those days, there were some hits and there were some misses. And the Nectar boards looked great, and they were up against some stuff that looked insane, It
was okay, but we were behind kind of technology wise. Those first couple of models of mine, they were horizontal laminated boards. So like a skateboard, the same thickness. There was no taper to the boards. They weren't vertically laminated like other brands were doing. So they were a bit behind, but once again, they were my local go-to and came with the whole Sunny program. And I wasn't ever out to like saying, "Oh, this, these people pay me more," or, wasn't working the system. I was just going with the flow and never really, I do give a lot of credit to people that focused and made things happen in the proper way. Because once again, my whole life, I've pretty much gone with the flow and not really sweated the small stuff.
Rad. Well, those vertically laminated Terry Kidwell boards from Sims, like even when he reissued some Terry Kidwells a few years ago, he wanted them vertically laminated. Mm-hmm. So there was a moment where that was kind of the cool skater thing to do. But like you say, vertical laminated, just once it happened, and you felt like your boards were like, okay, well, they're heavy, they're not tapered. Did you help design on Airwalk?
That was more of a just step into what they had. Like I say, what I really got off on was, designing my graphics as well.
Yeah.
Because, I'd come up with an idea. Oh, let's put my, faces, spider web, and then the skull spider, and then the sheriff, and then the king graphic, and the money board. And anyway, I had fun with like designing all these different, graphic type things that I had an idea in my head, and then they always ended up better when you got artists, putting your thoughts on paper and drawing them and making them happen. And same with some of these ad concepts, like I say, the basketball thing that was a Halloween costume, and I said, hey, let's do that for an ad. And I had a Lamar number 69 on my little tank top and slam dunking in a kid's basket, because it was lower, so I could actually dunk it. All kinds of funny little stuff we did.
Well, are you the funny guy, or are your friends funny? Is it like, where did that sense of humor come from? Because it's in a lot of your stuff, right? Like right up to Double O Szabo. I remember rewinding that 100 times at the shop. It's such a good scene. The cliff, and the thing sticks it on the cliff. I forget now.
That was that dummy skit where I put on the mask over my head, and that was classic because Tom Burt was up there along with Graham and a whole handful of other people, and we did this cliff skit, that dummy skit.
So cool.
And the dummy that we put, that had ride off the cliff, which by the way, I almost ended up riding off the 200-foot cliff myself.
Oh God.
We borrowed it was Matt Goodman's Vision, I believe, snowboard. Is like a 180, that we knew we were just going to destroy. So it was a 180 set up goofy foot. I'm regular foot. So, and we put a little channel like of snow that we built up just so it had enough snow for the board to be able to go towards the cliff and go off. Well, we did a little, my shot up at top where I put the thing on my head. I go, jump sideways to go off the cliff, and I get locked into this snow track that's taking me off the cliff. I literally had to fall over, or I would have went off of a 200-foot cliff. So that was a little ridiculous. Yeah, well, just another one in the bucket. I've definitely used my 9 lives, but we're just getting it done. And then, but then the board, so the whole dummy that falls down that cliff, it got stuck on that cliff, which is a good 40 or 50 foot high. And luckily Tom Burt was there, because the skit would have never have happened. He was actually able to use his mountaineering climbing skills to go up to where the thing got stuck and then tuck himself behind the rock and then push it off. So that's where that second part of the little cliff thing happened. And then obviously at the bottom, and then it ended up kind of in a layback position. So I went and put my stuff back on and put the mask over my head. And then I rode down to Graham and all the boys. And I'm like, yep, see me stick it on that lower shelf.
That is so sick, dude. Thank you for telling me that story. Cause that is, I love that Tom Burt climbed up and pushed the dummy down. That's incredible. Holy jeez.
Yeah, no, if Tom Burt wasn't there, he'd be, that would have just been a scratched little skit. We were talking about the Double O stuff.
Yeah.
And then we got sidetracked with that.
Yeah. Well, that was Double O, wasn't it? Or no, Double O was...
No, we did multiple little skits. So that was the, cliff dummy skit. It was only a little 60-second skit or something. Double O was 2 different 7 or 8 minute, mini movies that we did in, I think, Creatures 3 and 4, and Plastic Soldiers, and Demented Chowder Pilots was the name of those 2 in the series.
Unfriggin' believable. That's so fun. Those movies look like you guys were just going haywire.
Yeah, well, we're just having fun. I mean, Freeman and I actually, on the way back from Canada, because that's where you're at, yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
That's where you're at, eh?
Yeah, hey.
I don't. But yeah, we were on our way back from Canada, and when we were in the plane, we just started talking and, came up with this Double O Szabo thing, and going back and forth. Yeah, do some rockets and smoke screens, and develop obviously fart pellets and all kinds of funny little skit parts of it, and getting the microfilm to the minister.
It's so fun.
And it all developed, and like I say, he and Brett Johnson put a lot of the verbiage and skit work together, and yeah, it came out pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
Ended up being
It's a big part of that era.
round two.
Well, that was the thing. Like, so like, because, and people talk about it a lot on the show, because you had to wait for the videos to come out, there'd always be something that people would be talking about, whether it's, you know, Farmer's Rap or, you know, later on Rippy's backflip or something. There'd always be like a thing. And for those years of Double O Szabo, that was definitely one of those things. That cliff one was 100%. Before Double O Szabo, the cliff one was 100% the thing you had to see. It was so dope, dude. I love that.
Yeah, it was good times.
So when you're on Lamar, are you making a fairly good living? Like, or are you snowboarding in the winter and then banging nails in the summer or something to, you know, to make ends meet?
No, I've been ridiculously fortunate to just be able to make a living doing what I was doing and just keep on having fun. And geez, most of my darn life has been that way. I mean, after snowboarding, I had my print company for over 16 years and still gave me a lot of flexibility. And yeah, but back to your question though, but yeah, back in those days, you know, I made a living just like anybody else that had to go to work. It wasn't obviously a, you know, multi-six-figure deal, but comfortable and good enough for me. Not really sweating it or, you know, trying to work the system. Just ended up kind of being, reliable is not the word, but anyway, you know, being loyal to the people I was with and just enjoying it and having fun. And
that's super sick. That's super duper sick. Who was your crew? Like, Damien had Dana. You've already mentioned like Grammy and you'd ride with TB, Tom Burt but who was your go-to guys?
Well, I would cross paths with quite a few of those guys, and I think the guy hanging right. Well, in early days, I mean, got Victor Coyne, but then no, those were some of the guys, and I'd just cross paths with different guys. You know, you'd mentioned, you know, Farmer and then Hetzel and, you know, whatever, Rippy as well, and Bassett and Tina, and obviously with Bert, and then, you know, whatever, Sean Johnson was team guy. And I remember we had some crazy times in Japan sliding across cars that were just all locked up in Tokyo, and we're just sliding on our asses across people's hoods and just laughing.
Oh my God.
I think he was just practicing for his whiskey days.
Oh yeah, totally. There's some footage. There's a Lamar video, right, from that time. Like Rank was just lying on a train floor or something, just wasted. Like, so that, I think that was that Japan trip. Like that you guys would have all been on that trip together. That would have been mayhem.
Oh yeah. Classic. I remember Cardiel. How's this? We were all together, and Cardiel goes to step off the curb and looks to the left like you would in normal traffic, but you know, they go on the opposite side driving there.
Oh shit.
So a car hit him from the back, you know, because he was looking left, and the car came up behind him on the right, and his shoes go flying off. He does a cartwheel over the car, landed on his feet pretty much, you know, or, you know, feet / butt, and, you know, got up laughing, and it could have been ugly, but it was a classic.
That's unfriggin' believable. I forgot Cardiel was on that team too.
Yeah, he was for a bit.
Mad skills. Yeah, really. He's got that great attitude too. Did he have that when he was on the team for snowboarding? Just like happy guy, having fun everywhere he goes.
Yeah. He seemed totally happy, and like I say, really respected his, you know, skate, and you're saying, you know, happy, you're almost thinking cool and mellow, but dude, he was explosive.
Yeah.
When he would doing tricks that were just kind of beyond the time and level. And, he was a badass.
Yeah. How did you feel about that? Because I've talked with with a couple of people this year about how crazy it feels, especially, I mean, when you go back that far, snowboarding had a habit of just like picking a flavor of the year kind of thing and like moving forward. Like you made it through a few eras. Damien quit while you were riding, and you kept going and you kept having success. Like, what did it feel like, or did it feel like, because you're so mellow, maybe you didn't have this experience, but like to go to a photo shoot, for example, and then somebody is like doing something where you're like, wow, I don't know, I didn't know we had to learn that, or like, here come the kids, like, fuck. Did you have a moment like that, or was your career pretty even keel because you weren't, like you say, a contest guy that really was trying to do, win a world championship or something?
Right. Yeah, no, like I say, I'm kind of go with the flow guy, and I just do what I would do. I mean, I did do contests in the early days, but once again, I can do what I could do, and I would definitely push myself, but never really got to the point. Well, I wouldn't say that. I guess when corks first started coming out, I could flip and I could spin, but then learning to put them together was something. I was scratching my head a little bit. That was one of my shoulder dislocations and surgeries. But for the most part, just do what I could do and just have fun doing it. And I should have probably worked the situation a lot better. Once again, I would hang with Freeman and those guys all year instead of, going and filming with, fall line or hatchets or, different filmers.
Right.
So,
I think a lot of pros feel like that.
More, but
yeah,
again,
yeah.
I just cruise them and end up with tons of time that just got thrown on the floor after they put in the same small clip I would have gotten if I would have spread myself out more. But once again, I wasn't the most focused career-wise. I just going with the flow.
Yeah, dude, that makes total sense, man. But at the same time, like, you made some good choices with your sponsors. Like I said, Lamar was hot for those 4 years that you were on there. And then when you jump out to do your own thing, obviously it's a weird time in the snowboard industry, right? When the yen crashed, when Japan stopped buying boards like crazy, because, the year before that, they bought boards like crazy, right? Like for 10 years.
300 snowboard companies at the time.
Yeah.
Just like everything else that gets to the blow off top point and then down it crashes for one reason or another. So that was the reason.
Yep. Yeah. So then do you continue to snowboard professionally at that point, or do you take a hiatus, or you just walk away?
Yeah, I kind of walked away, and then whatever presented itself, which was my print business. I had a business partner, so he was a good friend of mine. And like I say, for over 16 years, for a couple reasons at the time, I just kind of walked away. And once again, I had multiple shoulder surgeries and kind of got to this point where my sponsors all said, hey, we can't just keep paying you, which makes sense now after owning a business for years and years. But at the time, I'm just a cocky youngster thinking, hey, I've made you guys a lot of money and you seriously can't help me get through until I'm back on my feet. Anyway, turned a different direction, went and did my print business, did the wife and kids and all that stuff, which, was where it went. So I kind of did turn my back, and my one-liner joke is I got paid to ride my snowboard for 10 or 12 years, and then I broke myself on my dirt bike for 20 years for free.
Yeah, nice.
I've had a surgery for every day of the year from moto for sure.
Yeah, the moto injuries are just another level. The print thing, what is it? You're printing T-shirts, or you're screen printing stickers, signs, that kind of thing?
Yeah, mostly stickers, banners, different POP. I mean, at the time, which was right at the end of the 90s, it was kind of an easy way to go. I'd go to trade shows. Hey, Szabo, what are you doing now? Stickers, banners, all kinds of signage. So we had some pretty good companies, and I had a 5,000, and we went to a 10,000 square foot place, and then
Sick.
after the recession, kind of back down to 5. And anyway, it was quite a good business for quite a few years, and it was cool. Once again, just weird how things kind of go into place.
Worked out. Yeah. And you became a dad. How old are your kids now?
They're 14 and a half and 16 and a half.
14 and a half. And I saw on social media that you lost your wife a few years back. That would have been, my condolences. I have no idea what that would be like. Obviously very hard.
It was pretty heavy, but I had to learn a lot of things since then. Like I say, I had such a blessed life that stuff really hits you hard like that. And,
mm-hmm.
Dying with your wife for years, it takes you down to a bad place. So definitely had to work on a lot of mindset training since that to reset my mind to just basically the basics, being grateful every day for what you do have, and got a little routine that, just thankful for, roof over the head and food and, health and basic things. And
yeah,
don't worry about what you don't have, just be grateful for what you do have. So I've been able to get myself out of a bad place and get in a good place ever since. But
yeah,
that was a rough one
for you,
sure.
man. Yeah. Yeah. Looked like a lot to deal with. But it also looked like, because it's social media and we see the good days, it also looked like you were able to, be there for your girls and, still get out and mountain bike and enjoy life. And, I'm really bad with, that kind of stuff, because I really just don't know what to say is what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, once again, I've dealt with it. I acknowledge it. I know it's there. It's off to the side, and
mm-hmm.
I'm just living life and enjoying the present, and enjoying every day, and doing the best. Because every time somebody dies, it's almost more of a motivation to me with that mindset to live my life to the fullest, enjoy it as much as I can. Because once again, I obviously seen, my wife, that was my soulmate. We had the same birthday, go that way, and my mom and tons of friends. And, like I say, I now use it as a motivation to make sure to enjoy life, which I do as much as I can. That's why I got to get up at 5 a.m. to go mountain bike tomorrow.
Yeah, dude, that's so sick. I'm really inspired by guys that are our age that still have the flame for the action sports that they were into, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of people fall by the wayside, right? Like guys that were there with you in the 80s and 90s that were ripping, that just put it away and just never went back, took an office job or some other thing, live a completely different life. Like action sports have been a part of your life your whole life, and you're still doing it. Like you say, you're going 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I mean, ever since 9-year-old, when I got a skateboard and was sponsored by 12 years old, and now it's 40 plus years. Yeah, I gotta do the math, but either way, 9 years old to 54 years old, whatever that is.
That's incredible, Don.
Yeah,
well, I'm sure you got some prep to do for tomorrow morning. I know for me, big days starting at 5 a.m. lately have been to go snowmobiling. The best pow turns I've ever had in my life. It's insane.
Oh man, I know. I miss the snow. I mean, I'd say part of the reason, although I can say mountain biking and motocross and then mountain biking now for the last 5 years is just such a passion of mine. But that two-wheel suspension will keep working well, where my leg suspension doesn't work like it used to. I don't know. I just love it. It's like a powder day all the time when I go riding. Can't go to Alaska for the weekend, so it's my new passion.
Yeah.
And like I say, I'd love to be out boarding more, but I literally think I've worn out some of the bushings in my knees and my shoulders. Like I say, I've had 4 shoulder surgeries and I really need another one.
Oh, wow.
So loose arm sports,
Yeah.
it pops out, but holding on to handlebars, pretty much holding in.
Oh, wow, dude. That's incredible. Well, I've got about 1,000 more questions for you. We'll have to do another one diving into your time in Alaska and different video parts. You're one of the greats of the history of snowboarding, the very beginning of professional snowboarding. Your board was up. I don't even know if there were other pro model boards the first year I saw it leaning against the garage wall at Transworld.
Well, obviously Kidwell, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's before Craig Heli Air, and Rankwood had a MR 160 on GNS
oh yeah,
a couple years after the Nectar board even. I counted up there as one of the first professional snowboard endorsements. It's friggin' sick, dude.
right on.
Right on.
Well, cool. Yeah, we'll have to talk again one of these days. Man. It was awesome to do a little going down memory lane. So thank you, man. Your podcast is fucking rad. I mean,
Thanks.
now I've just kind of looked back at it a little bit, and, saw all this stuff that, once again, I binged on it after we talked about Burt Lamar's about 2 years ago. And,
Rad.
Hetzel and Rippey and Bassett and Sean Johnson and Boyer and Hatchet and all my boys from way back, and gonna probably go binge on those things again in the near future.
It's an honor for me to hear that, dude. And it's an honor for me to talk to you. All right, I'll let you go. Thank you very much. We're going to talk again for sure, Don. Thanks for doing the show.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for hitting me up on it. And have yourself a great one. Enjoy the POW.
FNRad shoutouts to Don Szabo. Thanks for doing the show, man. Thank you to all Dave Henkel's friends for the kind words and memories about Dave. My condolences to his family and friends for the terrible loss. Special thanks to Justin Lamar for sharing that wonderful story. All money raised for the FNRad Foundation this week will be donated directly to Avalanche Awareness in Dave's name. You can donate to fnradfoundation@hotmail.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast, presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.